Hi, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Wilderness Physical Therapy Educators. And today we're going to talk about splinting for a forearm fracture. So, the scenario here is that we've been hiking out here in this beautiful Rocky Mountain area by this lake, and one of our members has fallen down and had a foot injury to her right arm. It seems like she might have a forearm fracture. So what's happened is Darren has performed a primary and a secondary exam. And of course, he has obtained permission to treat her. And the decision has been made that she's able to walk out. But prior to that, the plan is to put on a splint to give her some comfort for this potential fracture to her forearm. We pick up the action now. Darren has just completed his exam, and now they're going to sit down and Darren will tell us about how to place a SAM splint for the forearm fracture.
All right. Thank you, Paul. For the purposes of today, Karen is going to be my patient. And Karen, as Paul said, has just sustained a distal radial fracture. So we're going to go ahead and splint that. We're going to go through the steps here. Now, of course, Karen's going to be in a little bit of pain. So we're going to want her, like, Karen, are you okay standing up, or do you want to sit down?
Yeah, I'd rather stand.
You'd rather stand up? That's totally fine. Okay. And so before we do any splinting and after we do any splinting, we're always going to check our CSMs, right? So what I'm looking at here is, Karen, I'm just going to touch you just real lightly, okay? Okay, I know that some of it's going to hurt. Just breathe through it, if you will, okay? So what I'm checking here is just the circulation, right? And Karen, am I touching you?
I feel you touching my right index finger.
Okay, great. And then I'm just doing the circulation here, right? I'm just testing CSMs here. So we know that all that's intact beforehand, and now we're going to go ahead and just do the splinting, right? So I carry in my pack of splinting material. We're going to go ahead and get that out. And the key to this is SAM splint or something similar. This is in every good wilderness first aid and first responders kit. Is this moldable splint here, okay? And so this is the SAM splint here. Because I don't want to move that hand around a lot, what I'm going to do is go ahead and fit that to her other side. And so, Karen, what I'm going to do is just show you here. I'm just going to, if you can just hold that. I know it doesn't feel real good. And so what we do is we just unfold this a little bit. I'm going to mold this so that it's basically going to make sure that I'm going to be sustaining the joint above and below the fracture, so the wrist and the elbow. Okay, and so I'm just going to mold this lightly to what I think she's going to be wanting here. So go ahead and turn that around, if you will, just like that. I'm going to roll the bottom of this up just so that she has something to put her hand on. I'm going to be crimping the sides so that it has somewhere to put her forearm, and we're going to be bending it so that it goes around the elbow, and then reversing that so her arm sits there. It doesn't have to be an exact science, but we want to make sure that it fits her. And we don't want to be measuring on the other side, right? Because that would be a little painful to our patient. All right, okay. I know it hurts. We'll get you comfortable here in a second, okay? All right, so that's roughly what I want here. So I know I have that measurement. I don't want to put this on because some of these edges can be sharp. What I want to make sure I do to make the patient comfortable is to pad this a little bit. So I have another t-shirt in my pack here. We're in the wilderness. It doesn't have to be something fancy, right? So we're going to lay this on, just to give her a little bit of padding there. I just double it up just slightly here. I know, I'm so sorry. We'll get you out of here, get you some help though, okay? All right. And so what I'm gonna have her do is just see, and as we see, like, this is just fitted now, and we have the t-shirt in there for the padding, okay? And so what I'm gonna do here is, Karen, I'm just gonna have you put this gently in here. So let it just slip right in there, okay? All right, good. I bet it's hurting. Are we doing okay there? Great. Okay, can you hold that in place for me, just like that?
Sure.
Are you okay right there?
Yeah.
Good.
Good.
And we just make sure that they're okay. And then we're just going to secure this in place here, okay? Now I want to be able to check CSMs again. I want access to the site, so I'm not going to cover all that up, right? So I'm just going to be unrolling this. I'm going to go ahead and just secure here. I do want a little bit of access to the site. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to come around here. And I'm just going to roll basically distal to proximal here, securing it in. I'm not pulling it exquisitely tight. I'm also not moving her fracture around, right? I'm being gentle with the way that I'm laying this down. Grab the other one. Okay, not an exact science here. Coming across here. And again, remember we want to secure the joint above and below, so we're going up to the elbow. We're being very gentle with her. I'm going to leave a little bit of extra here in case I need to wrap or double up or anything like that. I'm just going to take this, double this over, kind of hide it back here where she's got a little bit of gap right there. I'm going to try to pad that gap with the extra little bit piece that's there, okay? That way it's nice and hidden, everything's good and tight. And so what right now we're going to do to keep her comfortable. Now, this is stable, it's not going to move, but for her comfort while we're walking out, we also want to go ahead and just sling her, okay? In an ideal world, we'd have all the triangular bandages and things like that, but sometimes we don't, okay? If she had a longer t-shirt on or another shirt underneath this, we could just bring that up and hold it like that. But today what we're going to do is I'm just going to have, can you move this just kind of like you're saying the pledge, just kind of bring it up like that. Good. And she's just going to go naturally. I'm not going to force her to go up to her shoulder. I'm not going to force her to go to her heart. I'm going to have her hold it. Try to do like the Pledge of Allegiance, but hold it into the position of comfort for her. Okay? And then all I'm going to do, because we're out here and it's a chillier area, I'm going to go ahead and use something a little bit thicker so that it keeps her warm while she's walking. If it were somewhere a little colder, I might choose to do something a little different. But all I'm doing here is rolling up the ends of this jacket. I'm going to have her place this right in here. Good. Can you just hold that end of it up for me? Good. And we're going to go around like this. And normally I'm not going to turn the patient, but just for this video for you all, I'm going to just try to show you here what I'm doing. All right, so I've got her zipped up. I'll zip this more up in just a second so that I tuck everything in and make it comfortable. But what I want to show you is I'm trying to get everything out of the way. I'm going to tie this so it doesn't come back out. I'm trying not to pinch her hair. This is a nice padded jacket. If it were something that were not as padded, what I would do is just go ahead and pad that, use another T-shirt or something like that to pad it. I want to make sure you saw me do an extra loop there, make sure that that's not coming out. Because the last thing I want is her to be walking and that to come loose. Now that's good and tight. We're going to come around. Karen, I'm going to have you just turn this way. Good. She's here. I'm going to go ahead and finish this zip up so that it covers her up. I can then take this last piece, pad anything else that needs to be padded, any gaps, and just tuck that in so that she's nice and warm here. But you'll notice at the end of this, I have to check CSMs again, right? Because I just splinted, so I'm going to want to check that again. Notice that all of this I've left so that I can check that, right? So again, I'm just checking some good capillary refill. I see that. Karen, am I touching you?
I feel it
Where?
on my 5th digit.
Okay, great. Karen, the PT, obviously calls it her 5th digit, which we like. And then I'm just going to stick my my finger underneath here, check the radial pulse. It's near the fracture site, right? But I'm just checking the pulse, and I feel a good radial pulse here. Karen, this one just let that go a little bit. How do we feel?
It feels much more supported.
Okay.
I feel like I'd be able to walk out.
Good.
May have to stop and rest
Sure.
a little bit, but
And I want to show you just some adjustments that can be made here, right? She is comfortable here, right? And your patient may be comfortable here. And now we're going to pretend for a second like she's not fractured. It may be more comfortable up here. And if that is the case, then we'll go ahead and sling it up there and just pull. You see how the sling would be tighter at that point. So it is optional. It's to the patient's comfort though. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
Darren, that was great. Could you maybe give us a little bit of information and summary of what would be the basic principles that you would want someone to consider when applying a splint for a forearm fracture?
Sure. What you want to make sure that you're going to be able to do as from basic is, one, we're going to always check CSMs before and after. You saw me do that. Two, we want to make sure that we are maintaining the joint below and above a fracture. And then 3, what I want you to make sure you're doing is splinting, swathing, and slinging to the patient's comfort. That is absolutely imperative. Karen, do you have anything to add?
Well, I think it feels a lot more supported. I feel like I can walk out, but I do have a backpack.
Right.
Is there someone that can carry my pack out?
Absolutely. So that's the other thing. We're always going to take care of that patient. I'm not going to sling her backpack on her now. I'm going to be carrying her backpack out. And and what you'll see too is if I can, I'm going to use things from her pack, right? So when I grab the t-shirt, we'll grab that from her pack, right? So I still have some of my supplies in case I need them. Paul, anything else?
Yeah, so we're getting ready to hike out now. We're going to distribute Karen's gear amongst us and walk out. Darren, what would be some things that you would look for that might be some dangerous signs or some red or yellow flags that Karen might demonstrate as we're hiking out?
Sure. Always, we talk about this in some other videos, but the altered mental status, we're always keeping an eye on that. If her pain is increasing, we want her pain to, it's going to be there, she's fractured. But if that pain is significantly increasing, I'm also going to be consistently checking those CSMs. If that is different, then if they change in the negative, then I need to take a look at that. Additionally, if I see any bleeding, if the fracture changes, if things start to loosen, I may just have to tighten things up. Thanks, Paul.
Great, thanks, Darren. And we want to thank everyone for joining us today. And just a reminder that when we did this treatment, this was after taking very consideration of seeing safety and also doing a good primary and secondary exam to make sure there weren't some injuries that we missed. And then the splinting would only come after we had done that and made sure that there weren't other problems that were more pressing than that. So once again, thank you all for joining us. And we're going to ask our people to step aside for a second so we can just take a second to enjoy this beautiful mountain view.